Good morning. Welcome to the Long Live Alternative Parties podcast. Free Press Media Press Inc., an alternative parties books publisher, sponsors this podcast. I'm Andrew Bouchard. Welcome to the Long Live Alternative Parties podcast. Today we have another exciting guest, as we always do. His name is Darren Hamilton, and he's running for office. He's going to tell us about the exciting campaign he's running. So welcome to the podcast, Darren.
Thank you, Andrew.
Darren, if we can get started by you kindly giving us an introduction to yourself, a brief biographical sketch.
Okay, fair enough. My name is Darren Hamilton. Currently, I work as an IT manager for a small company, and my wife and I, along with a few individuals and a couple of community groups, are involved with efforts to serve the unsheltered here in Denton County, Texas. I moved to Texas with my family at the age of 14, graduated from high school here, and enlisted in the Marine Corps from here. I am autistic. Having been diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome about 20 years ago. So autism advocacy is a particular interest to me, along with bringing awareness to other more common mental health issues like depression and anxiety, especially as they relate to veterans. I'm a Libertarian. I'm running under the Libertarian ticket. I am running for the Texas House of Representatives seat in the newly drawn District 57. And this district serves central and western Denton County here in Texas, skirting around the city of Denton itself, but taking in communities like Little Elm, Corinth, Lake Dallas, Ponder, and Dish out west, and parts of Argyle and Highland Village. Is there anything else?
Yes, kindly tell us how you got involved in the Libertarian Party to start with. What led you there?
Okay, great. I can wait until the sirens are done.
It is a fire truck going by. I hope it's not anything major.
Yeah, I hope not.
It sounds like it went by, so you can go ahead.
Okay. Oh, great. So in the late 1990s, when I started realizing that many of the campaign advertisements that I was hearing from both of the old parties, which is what we call the Democrat and Republican parties, they followed the tried and true standard product advertising model. Tell the consumer that they have a problem, and then tell them that their advertised product is the only one that can resolve their problem. Here's an example. Do you have erectile dysfunction? Boy, do I have a product for you. So now you can apply that idea to politics, and I think you'll see what I mean. Essentially, they're spoon-feeding the issues to the people, telling them that these are the issues that you really need to be concerned about, and then telling the people that, that their advertised candidate is the only one who's qualified to resolve the issue if you elect them. So once I started realizing that the issues that I was being spoon-fed by the old parties were not really the issues that mattered to me or to my family, I started looking at who might be talking about the issues that I felt really mattered to me. And I've heard about the Libertarian Party, but I didn't become actively involved with them until about 10 years ago. And the thing that appeals to me most about the Libertarians is that we treat people as individuals and not as a collective or as pawns in some political game that's obscure. We want you to decide for yourself what matters to you and to your family, and also decide what doesn't matter. We have a saying in the party that we are plotting to take over the world and then leave you alone.
Sounds good. So kindly describe the demographics of your area. You mentioned what parts of Texas it covers. Kindly describe the demographics of the area. Okay.
Well, like I said, the district covers central and western Denton County. Most of western Denton County is rural. It's sparsely populated, ranches mostly and farms. And then the eastern part of my district is more suburban. There's a lot of suburbs out here. People are moving out here. There's a lot of build up of suburban homes. My home, for example, we just moved in a year ago. We had this home built. So it's more suburban in that. We're near two colleges actually in Denton, so a lot of the people are younger. We do have some older folks as well.
Excellent. So kindly tell us, in your view, in your perception, what are the responsibilities of the office you're seeking?
Okay. Well, if I'm elected, my primary responsibility would be to represent the people of my district in the state legislature. Now, what does that mean? Well, that means that I'll be introducing new Texas state laws or voting on laws that other representatives have introduced and that have gone through their appropriate committees. If you've ever seen the old Schoolhouse Rock video, I'm Just a Bill, it's not too different from that description except that it's on a state level and not a national level.
Interesting. So what are your opponents like in this election?
I have only one opponent in this election. Now, here's the really interesting part. As a result of the 2020 census, Texas gained 2 new congressional districts, which means that all of our congressional districts, and as a result, all of our state representative and state senate, as well as school board districts, needed to all be redrawn. And so District 57, which is what I'm running for, is one of those newly drawn congressional representative districts. And so those of us who are going to run had to file back in November, December. And I had been watching this because it's newly drawn. There are no incumbents. And I found out that there were 3 Republicans running for their party's nomination. Now, as a Libertarian, I'm running for my party's nomination. I was running unopposed for that. But the Republicans had to go through the primary. So the one Republican who won in our primary back at the beginning of March, he is a longtime Republican. I don't know him. I've never met him. But his name is Richard Hayes. He's a lawyer here in Denton, and like I said, a longtime Republican Party member. Other than that, we don't move in similar circles, so I really don't know that much about him other than what he's presented on his website or has said that has been printed in the local media. I hear rumors, I hear innuendo, but I don't know anything particular about him other than that. There are no Democrats running in my race.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
So what issues are you facing in this race, and what are you presenting as solutions to them?
Well, there are a couple of big issues here in Texas that everybody seems to want to have an answer for. One of which is specifically border security, but I look at that as an immigration issue. Okay. Border security itself is a red herring topic, especially up here. We live in the northern part of Texas. We're nowhere near the border. So it's closer for us. It's literally 50 miles to get to Oklahoma. We're that close. And so the border security is really a red herring topic. It's one of those that's intended to distract the person from a different issue. And what I think we should be concentrating on is comprehensive immigration reform, or how to make the methods of legal immigration fair, reasonable, and more accessible to potential immigrants. If they want to come here, we need to make it easier for them to go through the legal process. So that's one thing. I have a particular issue or a particular topic that I end up looking at, and that's the repeal of prohibition laws. Now, these are prohibitions are the act of forbidding something, especially by law. It's basically the government telling you that what they will allow you to do, and claiming that the laws that prohibit these things are for the good of the people, but they're really not. So existing laws, for instance, covering censorship, abortion elimination, recreational cannabis. Those are just a few of the existing prohibitions that I think need to be heavily scrutinized. Look at them very clearly and from multiple sides before you say, yes, that absolutely needs to be handled at this level. Most of these are just somebody saying, I don't like that, let's make a law to prevent it. That happened about 100 years ago, and it was a colossal failure. So that was the prohibition of alcohol back in the 1920s. Other than that, there's another big issue here is education and school choice. Education being one of the most expensive government services, and it should be expected to provide some of the best returns on our investment. Unfortunately, the discussions on improving education here in Texas typically revolve around throwing more money at the problem, or money at a system that was designed well before the current information age. And so we need to find ways to catch up to that. And that's where the COVID lockdowns kind of forced education sector to adapt to the new information age. So yeah, it's a matter of trying to get those ideas into the public awareness and say, okay, here's an idea, what do you think?
So how do you plan to implement your Libertarian Party vision shall you get elected to this office?
Well, that probably is going to be the most difficult part of anything. Not that getting elected in the first place as a libertarian will be simple. I mean, one step at a time, after all. Sure. But as a computer programmer, which is one of my jobs, as a computer programmer, I'm required to consider the least common factor in anything that I program. This is the one thing, and it usually is something very simple, that is going to crash my program. And so I have to program around that or make sure that that gets taken care of. The same idea, I use the same idea as a model, if it were, to introduce or to even vote on a bill in the legislature. My first consideration as a libertarian would be to answer the question, does this bill promote the freedom of individuals to live their lives as they see fit? If it doesn't, I can either propose an amendment to the bill so that it does, or I can simply vote no on the bill. So the libertarian idea is make sure that it promotes individual freedom and the individual responsibility. We don't need laws, essentially, saying that you are not allowed to have a barbecue in your backyard on Friday. That's a ridiculous law. And so that would be one that I would say, no, you can't do that.
Makes sense. So what is your strategy for this race?
Well, one thing that I've found after looking at many of these things is the common idea that I've seen from old party candidates is that they generally consider independent and alternative party candidates as fleas on a dog. They're annoying, but not really that threatening. And I'm sorry for using this, one of those southern colloquialisms, but it kind of encapsulates the idea here. Since there aren't any Democratic candidates in this race, I suspect that my opponent, Mr. Hayes, will probably settle down and wait out the next few months, possibly all the way to November, without much campaigning, believing that as a libertarian candidate, I'm not going to be able to put up very much of a campaign. My current campaign strategy, therefore, is to keep things low-key, to fly under the radar, so to speak. I want to talk to the people directly, actually listen to what they have to say, and hope that what I have to say resonates with them and what they want for themselves and their families. I really have no plans for large-scale advertising like road signs, billboards, TV spots, mostly because, well, one, I couldn't afford them anyway. But if I can stay under the radar, out of the sight and out of mind of the Republican Party here in Denton County, then I hope to be able to build up enough momentum so that by the time I do show up on their radar, it'll be too late for them to do anything about it. Now, my goal for this campaign is to win. But even if I don't win, I want to make Mr. Hayes actually work to win his seat rather than just have it handed to him.
Yes.
Which is what I think he's currently contemplating. I could be wrong. Again, I don't know the man. So I could be wrong about all of this.
That is an awesome strategy.
That is my strategy at this point.
Excellent. We hope that you can, hopefully the cards will fall into place and the stars will line up and you will be able to surprise him and upset him. That would be awesome.
That would be awesome. But here's and I overthink things. So what's going to end up happening is I will probably end up being defeated if I run for re-election. Because, okay, let's just say I am successful. And as a Libertarian, I win this seat. What do you think the Republican and Democratic parties are going to do 2 years from now in 2024? Well, they're going to put up somebody that is going to fire up, especially during a presidential election year, fire up the people here in Denton to make sure that I do not get reelected. That's just standard operating procedure for them.
Sure.
Yeah, so I am convinced at this point that if I end up running for re-election, if I am successful, and then in 2 years run for re-election, that I will probably lose.
Oh no.
Well, that's not a bad thing. Except that, hey, the people are going to be represented by one of the two extremes, depending on which way they go. And as we have seen, or as we're starting to see, both on a national and whichever state you're in a state level, that the extremism that those of us in the center of the political spectrum see, the extremism isn't helping anyone except the people who are in power at the time. So yeah, that's one of the things, like I said, that I like about the Libertarians. We're more focused on the issues that affect the people, the real issues, what is going to concern them day to day, type of thing, as opposed to the old parties who end up, in my opinion, simply giving lip service to those particular issues. Oh yeah, we're going to do something about legalizing cannabis here in the state, but then they never end up doing so.
So what is your leadership like for this campaign? Do you have staff that you're running with, or are you doing this all by yourself? Not yet.
Right now, I am doing it all by myself. This is the beginning of the campaign season. Right now, many of the political things that are going on are focused primarily on local races, city mayors, city councils, local school boards, that type of thing. That election happens at the beginning of May. The man that I'm going to task with being my campaign manager, I've already talked to him about it. He is currently helping a candidate for a local mayor's race. So once that's done, he said he would be able to help me with my campaign.
That's good.
And so that probably won't happen until later in the spring, probably in the summer. And so, again, I don't need a lot of people right now.
Okay.
And so I'm sort of juggling things like interviews like this. But this is not something that is difficult for me to handle on my own.
Okay, that's good. So how can our audience out there support your campaign?
The big thing at this point is talk to people.
Talk to people?
That's
okay.
all I'm asking. Talk to people. Go out and talk to people about what it is, the issues that matter to you, the issues that you think should matter to them, and start a dialogue with pretty much anybody. The reason I say that is that what we want to know, or what I personally want to know, is what can I do for you in the Texas legislature? They can stop by my website at hamiltonfortexas.com, and they can leave a message. Tell me what they want from the Texas legislature. If they want to donate money to my campaign, that's great. I'll take it. But I think that the most important thing right now is for people to start talking to each other and listening to one another about what matters to them. Later in the year, especially for this race, I'll ask them, once they've done that, to look at both myself and my opponent. Look at what we stand for and what we want to bring to Austin, and then compare that to what matters most to them, and vote based on that. Vote for the individual, not for the party. But I'm also begging, with tears in my eyes, do not, absolutely do not stay home in November. Stand up and vote, even if it's only to cast your vote in my one race. And vote for me. But, the idea, do not stay home. Because that's one of the biggest things that happens in a mid-year election, or a midterm election, is that most people end up staying home.
Darren, thank you for coming on the podcast and talking about your campaign. We appreciate hearing about it.
It was my pleasure.
We wish you all the best in your upcoming election and your other endeavors.
Thank you, Andrew.
All right, take care. Bye now.
You too. Bye.